Hi, this video is in a series of videos covering the EdgeFirst Model Zoo and the EdgeFirst Perception Index and how we're measuring various target platforms, their performance running YOLO detection segmentation models end to end. So we're capturing the time it takes to load the JPEGs off disk, do the decoding, pre-processing, letterbox resize, all that, channels first, reordering, feeding that to the NPU to perform inference, reading the outputs, running NMS, running mask materialization, and so on. So really every stage of the pipeline, it's all measured with the profiler. We're able to inspect in detail to get exactly that timing information. So today we're going to be looking at the IMEX 95 equipped with an NXP Ara240 Discrete NPU. So this NPU delivers 40 tops, and we're going to see just how fast it is. So I've got the profiler running here. I'm going to switch to the studio screen, and I'll go pull the Cocoa detection YOLO V8 nano model, and then this is for the NXP Ara240, so it's that YOLO V8N DVM model. So we'll launch that. It takes a few seconds to load up and warm up, and then it should be running. And then there we go. So we can see that the model's running in about 225 or so FPS. This measures a bit low. We'll see when we look at the exact tracing file, the timing that we're getting. And our latency is about 76 milliseconds for this pipeline. Okay, so that's uploaded. Now switch into Studio, where we'll go look at the results of this session. So YOLO V8 validation, it's just running the analysis now to calculate the accuracy of this model. So the MIP, the precision recall graphs, collecting metrics from the trace file for timing, throughput, latency, and all that. So this just takes a few seconds to run. And there we go, it's done. So right off the bat, we can see under the description, the host, processor, the NPU that we're using. So in this case, that Ara240 NPU. So if we look at the charts, we can see the MAP of the model is about 31.5% MEP. And then lots of other charts you can look at. And then our throughput on average was about 230. We can see in the the mean is about 225. That's what we're seeing in the profiler here. About 225, and capped out at about 233. Technically, this NPU can actually get higher, and we'll see that when we look at the exact profiling information. There's a bit of a hint for that here when we look at the pipeline timing. So this breaks down the stages. So capture is to acquire an input. In this case, we're using images off disk. So that's loading an image off disk, doing the JPEG decoding. That's the capture time. Pre-process is the resize with letterbox. And in the case of the Ara240, it expects planar input. So NCHW instead of NHWC. So it does the planar RGB conversion as well. And then it does the PCIe transfer since it's discrete NPU connected over PCIe. And then the NPU runs inference. So that 7 milliseconds, that actually includes that I/O time. We'll see that in the profiler. And then finally, the post-processing time. So if you add all those up, that's that latency that we were seeing in the profiler tool. And then in terms of how we could further maximize the throughput, if we look at the profile, open this up. So this breaks down all the stages. So we're using a very concurrent pipeline to keep that NPU busy. So you can see we've got, I guess, 4 model decoder threads running in parallel. We've got the pre-processing threads running in parallel, the capture threads running in parallel. So this is using the hardware JPEG codec. So it's doing the JPEG decoding in hardware across 4 threads to keep it busy, but it does still have, that does still take time. And then when we get to our NPU timing, so we've got the NPU device to host, so that's the PCI transfer from the NPU back to the host device, and then host to device. So in the pipeline, it's a bit backwards, sorry, but so first you transfer to the NPU, then the NPU does inference, and then you transfer back to the host. So that 7 or so milliseconds, that's the invoke time, the round trip time. But since we've got, in this case, 7, 8 parallel slots running, they're all running concurrently. So we get this kind of effect where they stack up and we're able to increase the throughput coming out of the NPU. So if we look at the actual NPU invoke time, it's just shy of 4 milliseconds. So of course at 4 milliseconds, that's 250 frames per second. And there's nothing, the IO time is all lower. So the sum of the IO time is still lower than the invoke time. So we can get basically perfect pipelining on this. So in this case, we're really limited by, basically the pre-processing and decoding time. So even though it's doing the decoding, with the hardware JPEG codec, that still takes time. So the codec time, this is overlapping, but yeah, it's averaging, probably, well, I don't need to say probably, we can go look exactly what it's averaging. About 17 milliseconds. So effectively the bottleneck in our pipeline is this capture time, the pre-processing time, sort of post-processing time, but not really the inference time. So there you have it, 225 frames per second on the Ara240, and what's a clear-ish path to 250 frames per second. Probably drop the JPEG, get a camera. If you can find a camera that's 250 frames per second, you could potentially hit that. Thanks for watching the video.